Welcome viewers to yet another episode of D's Take. As you're aware, D's Take has been focusing its attention on economic governance. And today I want to discuss the issue of economic nationalism. Why economic nationalism? A country cannot be developed through importation. A country has to be developed with either a service-driven base or an export-driven base or a manufacturing-driven base. And in the Gambia, we've realized that manufacturing has not really yielded quite a lot. And the reason it hasn't yielded a lot is the mixed policy signals government has been sending out. And we really need to address this. This issue needs to be brought to the forefront. I mean, if you look at industrialization in the Gambia, we have made futile attempts over the past 35 to 40 years. We have seen the advent of Daddy Jack of Santayala, the first Gambian who started, not a brewery, but a soft drink company. We have seen Alice Carr. We have seen Chairman Seka. We have seen many other entrepreneurs, the Musukeba Drames, who have really worked hard to build up an industrial base. But the reason why these people failed is that government didn't have a concerted policy effort to make sure that industrialization takes foot and have a solid ground in the Gambia. Well, this needs to change because of late, I've realized that we have a flour mill in the Gambia. And if a country has a flour mill, we're not looking for protection, but I would love to see the government encourages how such an entity thrives in this country. Therefore, we cannot have a flour mill in the Gambia and have open importation at the same time. You look at M.A. Harafi, they're doing a tremendous job in the agricultural sector, trying to grow potatoes. But how can you grow potatoes and in the middle of it, the government allows importers to bring potatoes knowing full well that the potatoes being brought in is from Western Europe, highly subsidized, and when these products come to our market, they're not having or attracting the real values. Therefore, what our farmers are producing are now being priced out of the market. So government needs to decide if they're serious about setting up an industrial base. If we really want to support industries, we really need to make up our mind what are we going to do in terms of importation or what are we going to do in terms of supporting light manufacturers and light industries to thrive. I therefore believe that economic nationalism should be at the heart and center of government's policy. There's a stark difference between economic nationalism and protectionism. Protectionism may have its own pitfalls, but economic nationalism, I believe, is something that this government should foster, this government should promote. Because in America today, we're talking about a Bill Gates, we're talking about a Henry Ford, we're talking about a Philip Amu, we're talking about a J.P. Morgan, we're talking about David Rockefeller of Standard Oil. These people would not have been giants and titans of industry if the U.S. government didn't give them the opportunity to make sure that they grow. So same and equally the same, the government of the Gambia needs to give the budding entrepreneurs that are industrially minded to grow their industries. And this can only happen if the government pays not only lip service to industrialization, but a commitment, putting their money where their mouths are. And it starts with curtailing importation. Yes, I know we want price stability in the country. Yes, I understand we want affordable goods in the country, but at what cost? See, of late, I've been told that Shaib and Mahdi have imported quite a lot of flour into the country. Yes, this company has been in existence for over 102 or almost 100 years in the Gambia. What have they done that's so significant in the transformation of our economic base, other than buying and selling? And these are things that our government needs to be mindful of. We are not looking just to survive. We want to go past survival. We want to get to a stage whereby what we have in the country is we have a country driven by entrepreneurs, industrialists, and also people who are in the service sector. So economic nationalism, like the Jamaicans will say, dance a yard before you dance abroad. Before you do for others, do for yourself. Yes, we have to sacrifice. We should not mind paying for a bag of potatoes at $345 than buying an imported bag of potatoes for $275. What we need to realize, the price of a bag of potato coming in from Western Europe is highly suppressed because the farmer in Western Europe is getting a lot of farm subsidies. And since our farmers are not enjoying such things, there is no competitive level. Therefore, we cannot open the floodgate for imported items to just fill our country, and yet still we say that we want to grow. Imports and trading will never grow Gambia. Gambia will only grow if we have service sector economy that's growing, and also we have a productive industrial sector that's growing. So our policy efforts should send the right signal. The signal is Gambia is a budding economy that's in the verge of growth, and for it to happen, we need to support our local entrepreneurs and our local industrialists. So economic nationalism, it's not a bad thing, and I don't care what the donors say, we should look at Gambia's interests first and put Gambians first. There are a lot of spheres of this economy that is being controlled by non-Gambians, and we're giving them not only a head start, but we're giving them considerable leverage against the locals, and that's not helping. We're just not saying give jobs to locals or give opportunities to locals if they're inefficient. But the government should work hand in glove with our local entrepreneurs to make sure that we take them from point A to point B, thereby growing the industrial base, the service sector base of this economy, and this is what Gambia needs. Gambia for Gambians, and Gambia should promote Gambian entrepreneurs. So economic nationalism, as far as I'm concerned, has stark divergence from economic protectionism. Protectionism breeds inefficiency. Economic nationalism promotes Gambians and put Gambians first. I mean, we look at the face of industrial Gambia. We look at the face of economic Gambia. What we see are non-Gambians in the forefront of things, handling things. And we want this to change. We want our government to make sure that young, budding industrialists and entrepreneurs are given the opportunity to be in the forefront of Gambia. Gambian economy, Gambian face. Gambian economy, home-based production. Gambian economy, let the proceeds of our economy stay here. We cannot be generating money for importers only for them to do transfers and remittance through their banks to their parent companies or to other interests that they have offshore. So on that note, I chose this topic, and this topic is very relevant and dear to me because the government of the Gambia in the past few weeks have opened up the market where anyone can import a commodity like flour. And at the same time, the government of the Gambia has helped establish a flour mill. At least this flour mill is employing Gambians. At least this flour mill is adding value. What importers do is not adding value. Importers basically buy and sell commodities, and at the end of the day, they don't care about the cost structure that government has. They don't care about the tax structure that government has, because whatever they bring, they just add their costs and pass it on to the end user, which is the consumer. I therefore urge this government to look into our agricultural base. Companies like M.A. Harafi need support. Companies like the Gambia Milling Company need support. We need to prop up our local industrial base. I mean, a country like Gambia, we don't even have a candle making company, and we're getting candles from all over the world. These are light manufacturing. It means something is fundamentally wrong, and our industrial policy is our problem. This industrial policy needs to be revisited. This industrial policy needs to be championed by the policymakers of this country, whereby we not only deter the importation of commodities into the Gambia, but we at least promote and at least reward people who want to set up an industrial base. Industrialization is the only way this country can go forward to the next millennium and be a country and a force to be reckoned with the help of agriculture and also a complementary service in tourism. So therefore, let's advocate and let's champion, let's force our government to have a deliberate policy called economic nationalism. Economic nationalism is not a bad thing. We should not put a bad label on economic nationalism. We should put the interests of this country and the inhabitants of this country first before any other interests. Most people who come here, do trading, buy and sell, at the end of the day will leave. What are they living with? My hard-earned money, your hard-earned money, the country's money. Imagine the procurement that has been happening. I do love the idea of having international companies do come and do work in the Gambia. Let's take our road infrastructure, for example. A company like CSE has benefited significantly over the years in terms of the benevolence of Gambian funds in terms of building our infrastructural projects. I applaud that. It's a good thing. But guess what? What did we benefit as a society? Not much, because most of what was being done is being done by outsiders and remitting funds outside again. What we want is government to inject capital to build infrastructure, but this have a reverberating effect in the economy across the board, whereby the funds that are generated be left in the economy in terms of other providers providing services. But if you have a contractor who brings his own cement, bring his own steel, bring his own labor, do a project and check out of town, the economy is not gaining. So the idea of economic nationalism is to fortify the Gambian economy. The idea of economic nationalism is to empower the Gambian entrepreneur, the Gambian industrialist, the Gambian farmer. And this is what Gambia needs. Gambia for Gambians and Gambians first. Yes, currently I've heard that the government is talking about the issue of ID cards and other things. It's up to government who and where and what to give a contract to. But we should have considerations. If we don't have a Gambian company that is competent enough to do it, we should encourage them to go and look for partners out there who can do technological transfer over a period. Then hopefully in the medium term, we don't have to go out there and look for foreign companies to come. If we choose foreign companies, let's make sure that we have a clause called local content, that most of the local content that is relevant to the execution of their project be done by Gambian companies. And also we have skills transfer. We cannot continuously and perpetually be a country whereby we rely on outsiders to provide services for us. We should start providing services for ourselves. We should start doing for Gambia. Gambia has to be developed by Gambians. Gambia cannot be developed by outsiders. So economic nationalism is a broad perspective that looks at the overall Gambian economy and see how best we can take the Gambian economy to the next level and also grow a middle-class Gambian. Middle-class Gambians can only grow if we have projects being managed by Gambians, paying Gambians good monies, and make sure that these Gambians form the crust of what we call a middle class. Development without progress is really insignificant. And we want our development to go with social prosperity, whereby Gambians can be seen on an upward mobile situation where we move from here to here in a very progressive and sustained manner. So on that note, I want to encourage my government, your government, our government, to really have a policy of economic nationalism. Gambia and Gambians first. We own this country. We should build this country. We should make it a better country than our forefathers left us with. And if we haven't done that, we have failed a generation. And the next generation of Gambians coming, we owe it to them to give them a country that is economically empowered, give them a country that's economically endowed, and give them a country that they can even do better for subsequent generations of Gambians. On that note, a big thank you to all, and watch out. Hopefully our next subsequent episodes will still delve into the issue of economic governance, because economic governance is the key to economic growth. Economic growth is the key to prosperity. Gambia, if we want to avoid civil strife, if we want to avoid poverty, we should focus on economic growth. And economic growth needs sound fundamentals. Our economic situation should be anchored on good economic fundamentals. And this can only happen if we put Gambia first. So economic nationalism all the way. I hope the government is listening. I hope the policymakers are listening. And I hope people with vested interest in the concern we call Gambia are listening. Because I am interested to see a Gambia being managed by Gambians, being led by Gambians, being driven by Gambians to prosperity. On that note, thanks once again.